So I thought I'd open up the video here at another kind of deja vu space. This is actually on the corner of 47th and Ironton Street in Denver, Colorado. And behind me, you can kind of see it right here. That used to be Muscle Farm. That's where I spent a lot of my time here in Denver. I'm actually not heading there. I'm heading actually down the street, but I figured I'd stop for a second and kind of reminisce about kind of a big part of my life and kind of what connected me further into the sports nutrition industry.
We have two warehouses at QuickBox. We've got one in Denver, one in Atlanta. Here is 105,000 square feet, 39-foot ceilings. We have replicated every system and process in Atlanta that we have in Denver. The difference here is that Denver houses our corporate headquarters, if you will, the admin, accounting, HR, client services. But every other system and process is replicated, but the layout might be a little different. So in Denver, we have cross-dock doors. So we've got 17 doors on the receiving side, which is on the west side where we came in. We've got 17 doors on the east side, which is the inflow and outflow. Almost all of our clients here are nutritional supplement, cosmetic, in the health and wellness, nutritional foods. Not so much because that's what we focus on, but because as an ownership group, this is where we came from, was the health and wellness industry. So we have a lot of contacts. We have a great understanding of the types of products. And also because the way our systems are set up, it's to accommodate those types of companies. So we're first expiry, first out for foods and expiration dates. We also have full batch and lot control. So if you ever, God forbid, have a recall, we can isolate a lot number down to a very specific batch, so you know which consumers to contact. I don't know if you've ever been through a recall. I went through an FDA mandated recall once, and it was an absolute nightmare. And we didn't have great lot control, and it about put our company out of business. So these are the things sometimes that our clients or brands don't always realize, is that it's what you don't know that can hurt you the most, right? Those landmines that you don't know exist, you step on it, you don't have batch control, lot control, and then all of a sudden you have a recall. What do you do, right? How do you handle that, right? So those are things we handle on behalf of our clients. We have temperature range control, which is also important for food products and supplements and cosmetics. So we have, by GMP compliance, we have 16 thermostats, high, low, east, west throughout the building. And we have an app that basically tracks and monitors temperature and relative humidity, so that if it gets out of range, high or low, we have a process that tells us exactly what to do internally to get that control of temperature range within the acceptable range that we've set. So all of the inventory comes in, and then for many of our clients, they'll have us quarantine that inventory while they're waiting for either C of A's to come in or a third-party testing to come in. And then once they clear that, then we release it. Once it's been counted, received, it gets input into the system. And our system is 3PL Central, which allows full transparency for our clients to view access to all of their inventory. So from the moment it's counted and received and put in the system, they can have complete access and visibility to the inventory from the receiving lane into the bulk storage lane, and then into a particular order, and then when it leaves the building. So they can watch and essentially have full visibility to that inventory as it moves through our system.
So is there like an overall size that you guys like to work with?
That's a good question. So there's kind of two sides to that question. So one side of it is, if you're doing fulfillment on your own, when does it make sense to consider a third-party fulfillment provider? And we have done our own studies on that. I've read a lot of data on that. And normally around 200 orders per day, depending on how large the orders are in size, meaning number of items inside the package. Over 200 orders a day, that's where the economics start to make sense for a third-party logistics provider to do the outsourced work for you, because they can control and scale labor. They can invest in assets. They have the systems to manage scalability, right? Whereas if you're trying to do that yourself and you're trying to scale with that, you're trying to hire labor, and then what do you do when volume goes down, right? You're trying to buy pallet racking, and then what happens when you run out of space? You got to get another warehouse, right? So that's where the consideration of the economics make more sense, about 200 orders per day. The other part of the question you had was around the ideal client. So very important thing that we did early on at QuickBox was define who our ideal client is. We drew a sandbox, right? And that's also been a very critical way in which we've been able to scale and grow, is by making sure that we're bringing the right clients in here, not so much because they're a bad client, but because if they're not the right client, we won't be able to serve them well based on the way our systems are set up in our processes. So having at least 50 orders per day is a minimum. So no startups, but 50 orders per day. Startups are kind of a flip of a coin unless you have a proven track record. And then from there, it's considering the number of SKUs you have versus the number of orders per day. So in other words, if you have a higher number of SKUs than you have orders per day, that means we're going to be less efficient because you have more permutations in your orders by virtue of number of SKUs, versus if you have lower number of SKU count and higher order volume per day, you're going to have more similar, what we call pack types, and that makes us more efficient. The more efficient we are, the better we can price the fulfillment services. And then we like items that are smaller than a shoebox, so that helps to keep us more efficient in the optimization of our storage, right? We don't want to be in the storage business, we want to be in the fulfillment business. So we need inventory turning, moving out. It makes it easier to pick and pack if the items are smaller. We like companies who are direct to consumer driven as a brand and a company, and who also have a retail component, but their main business model is a direct to consumer model. That allows us to have more predictable, consistent volume, daily order volume, versus retail, which can be a little lumpy in terms of moving pallets and truckloads of material. And then if they are, the bonus is if they're a health and wellness type of brand, because one, as owners, we all came from this space, and because we were all on the brand side, or in our instance, our client side, we've been in their shoes. So we understand their pain points, and every system and process we engineered inside QuickBox was to think like a brand and a direct consumer company. So that's given us an advantage in being able to serve those types of clients. A customer doesn't know who QuickBox is, but we're representing the brand's consumer experience by way of the package. So we handle majority of small parcel direct to consumer, and then we also manage retail or wholesale, which could be small parcel as well, could be LTL, could be FTL, whatever it is that those wholesale orders constitute. And then we do things like Amazon. We can do direct shipment to consumer. We can also do FBA prep. And then we'll see as we walk around, we can do other special projects like kitting things like retail displays. QuickBox, our mantra has always been the internet doesn't shut off, so we can't either, right? So we operate 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So we ship every order we receive on the same day up until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's our service level agreement to our clients, is to ship every order same day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. As Amazon continues to pave the way in terms of redefining the consumer experience, that's just what keeps setting the bar, right? Now, consumers' expectations aren't fully aligned with Amazon. In other words, when a customer goes to one of our clients' websites, they don't expect the product to arrive in an hour or same day, right? But nevertheless, Amazon has continued to raise the bar, where the expectation is you better ship my order quickly, and it better get to me, in 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, I'm going to start wondering where my order's at, calling your customer service or emailing you and saying, hey, why is it taking so long to get my order? And that's because Amazon has set the bar. So for us, strategically, having warehouses and locations that allow us to be within reach of 98% of the stateside consumers within 2 days or less is very important. It's important to us because it's important to our clients as well. So we follow a different process here than you see at most traditional fulfillment centers. It's called batch processing. It's not what you might see in typical fulfillment centers would be pick to cart, pick to tote, right? Where you pick to bin, you pick the order to the bin, you run the bin down a conveyor. We found that because of our efficiency in terms of pack types, that we can run more orders in larger batches, and then we can pick to batch, and we're more efficient because everything in fulfillment is about the less touches, right? Means the less cost, less error. And if it's less cost, I can pass that cost savings on to the client. Nutritional supplement products, we have skincare products, we have ranges of pet supplements, we have CBD products, we have a lot of what I call gadgets, which are like items that might come from China, electronic gadgets, phone covers, phone cases, tactical flashlights. A lot of the brands that we have inside QuickBox aren't your typical household name brands that you might see out in retail. They tend to be stealth-like, if you will. They're very good at direct-to-consumer marketing. They're very good at generating a consistent number of orders every day. They're not so concerned about the awareness of the brand to the general public. They're most concerned about just acquiring customers, their target customer, at the most efficient acquisition cost possible, right? And growing the brand through customer acquisition. 1, 2, 3, sometimes 5,000 orders a day. People have no idea who these brands even are, right? And what I find most interesting about it is, I think a lot of this data is untracked. A lot of them don't even have UPC codes because they don't sell in retail. They're not on Amazon. They're just selling direct to the consumer, and a lot of that data is just not tracked. You don't find it in IRI, you don't find it in Strategic Business Journal, you don't find it in any place. And so when I look at e-commerce and see that it's growing at a rate of 18% a year by most of the data sources that I have recognized, I think that might actually be understated because I think there's a lot of transactional activity going on that is not tracked in terms of consumer goods.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think even from a standpoint, you see, different reports talking about the market share of Amazon. And I always think that market share is grossly overstated because of a lot of these direct-to-consumer sites that people have no idea what's going on with it. It's kind of like there's so many small little, $20 million, $30 million, $50 million websites that aren't really tracked by like Adobe Analytics or anything, that are just kind of out there that ultimately are just like chips away at the overall. Yeah. And not to say, obviously Amazon is still the beast and it's still the biggest, baddest guy out there, but it's like, I think it's a little bit overstated in terms of like their market share if you're considering all these things that you just talked about.
I still have a lot of executive friends in the industry, sports nutrition industry, supplement industry, and I get asked, quite often is, we're losing market share, but we don't know where it's going. Well, I have a pretty good hunch I know where most of it's going. And, there's the invasion of brands, right? Everybody has a brand now. You can be, influencer with, 10,000 followers on Instagram, and you can develop a brand tomorrow if you want, right? And then there's the more serious companies and there's the entrepreneurs, but there's just so many brands now that are not tracked in the data, and I don't think are recognized by larger brands as competitive forces that are really slowly, but in a large magnitude, just eating away at their market share. So when you're trying to figure out, is it going to competitor A or B, which is one of the bigger players in the market? Probably not. That might be some of it. What's happening is right underneath you, right? It's just happening in a stealth. It's these direct-to-consumer brands that are just sort of chipping away at that market share. This is the team that is sort of the beating heart of QuickBox. So they start pulling orders from the CRMs of our clients. So it just basically does an API call from our warehouse management system to the CRM. So like a CRM might be Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce or Limelight or Connective. And so we'll pull that order file, it'll import it into our warehouse management system, and then we'll start batching. And then the next phase of employees come in, and that team will start to pick the orders. and pre-stage the orders. So we'll see some of the orders staged over here at Big Cuts. So this is the order processing here where all the orders get imported every morning. Once they start pulling the orders, that doesn't stop until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's our final pull of orders for the day. So that would have processed all orders up till 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 4 p.m. the previous day. Right. So in the morning, what you would see, if you were here about 7 a.m., you would see this entire row staged with all the carts for all of the orders that have been pulled to that point. Every one of our clients decides how they want their pack type to be defined, right? Do you want to use a custom box, or do you want to use a stock corrugated box? Do you want to use a poly mailer? Do you want to use a bubble mailer? It's defined by the customer based on what experience do they want their end customer, to essentially receive in terms of the goods. So once that's defined, then you're also deciding what type of dunnage do you want in there. Do you want craft paper? Are you very conscious about the environment? Do you want clear bubbles, pillow packs, right? And then we define those pack types for the client. And the client, hey George. A really big part of QuickBox and our mission is that when we find purpose in things in life that are that transcend beyond just us and who we are as business leaders and business owners, and is something that you find that's just very fulfilling. And for us, that has becoming Colorado's largest second chance employer. So almost everyone that you saw me talking to on the floor or said hi to, or for instance, Billy that I was just talking to over there, has come to us by way of second chance programs. So most of our employees are either recently incarcerated or disabled veterans or from women's battered shelter. We have found that they are, provided you give them, good employment, fair opportunity, and take good care of them, is that they are the most loyal people that I've ever found. And what I love most about their relationship is just getting to learn and understand their story, right? Because everybody has a story, but some of their stories are the hardest stories you might have ever heard, right? But life usually gives up on them, right? And employers really don't like hiring people who've been incarcerated. Billy that we were just talking to over there, he spent 22 years in prison, right? He was wrongly incriminated, spent 22 years in prison, was pardoned by Obama. And, when you think about, what that must have been like for him, but the fact that we can give him a second chance, give him a great place to employ, he can flourish. He's now a manager and a lead on the floor, and everybody loves him, right? So he wins and we win. I mean, it's something that for me, is much more personally fulfilling. I've been in businesses that have a lot less people, but because we have 300 plus people, it's really nice when we grow, we can continue to expand throughout the community and be part of the second chance employment and really give these people an opportunity that they really rightfully deserve, but maybe they wouldn't get somewhere else. So, most of the people that you saw me talking to, they all have these great stories of where they've come from. The client actually approves their pack type, and we don't change that pack type unless the client tells us to change it.
Do you have more clients asking around like sustainability, or?
We are starting to see a growing trend towards being more eco-friendly, if you will, in terms of understanding, is this material 100% recycled? Can I get 100% recycled material? Can I get fully biodegradable material? Whatever it might be. We're starting to see more and more of those requests. So we do have certain options. They're a little bit more expensive, but again, it's what is the ethos of the company? What's their philosophy? It's whatever they want. So we do have some items, both in box types and in mailer types that are a little bit more eco-friendly, if you will. They're really two types of clients that we see quite often, which is one is, do whatever you think is best, just get it there the cheapest, right? And then you have the other types of brands who are all about the customer experience, right? Where they say, hey, I want a custom box, I want custom tape, I want fully recyclable material, I want my package to look like this, I want everything to be in this order when it lays in there. The customer experience can truly be a differentiator, right? So the customer experience isn't just the interaction they have on your website or with your customer service. It's all the way through, including when they receive that package, how it looks, when they open it up, what's inside, and then what are their interactions afterwards. So I think a lot of brands are starting to realize that customer experience is way more than just the interaction they might have on your website. And then as orders get completed and the Gaylords are filled up and the master pick tickets and the carts are completed, then all the Gaylords get sent over to this side. So this is our east side, so everything is outgoing here. So all these Gaylords, as the night continues to progress, get staged by shipping service. So each dock has a particular shipping service where they have a trailer, and we just load that trailer, and as that trailer fills, they come in, the postage service comes in and rotates that trailer. So it could be UPS, it could be DHL, whichever shipping service it is. So we're the largest fulfillment center in Colorado, so we get some priority around postage services. So we get the final pickup of the day, and then we also have something pretty unique that no other fulfillment center has, which is we have from DHL and UPS, we have a Sunday pickup and a sort and a scan, which means most fulfillment centers actually have what we call a weekend rollover, which is where your orders that come in on Friday night get packed over the weekend, and then they don't actually leave the building and start getting processed until Monday night. So you just basically lost 2.5 to 3 days of time to home, whereas our orders are packed and picked up over the weekend, so you actually get movement of those packages, so there's no weekend rollover. So this is the returns area. So returns are processed Monday through Saturday. Don't do returns on Sundays because USPS brings all the returns back and they don't operate or do drop-offs on Sundays. So we do returns Monday through Saturday. We do all the returns on the same day, and we do them in-house here. We process them, we log them, and we even have a feature where we'll go into the CRM on behalf of the client and key the refund in if that's what they want. So all of our return services are a la carte, and then it passes through a 3-step QC process, which if the product is still resellable or reusable, hasn't been tampered with or the seal's not broken, expiration date is still good, you can do what's called a return to stock, where that's one of our services. It'll return back to stock within its FIFO order. So first expired, first out, it'll go back into the order of the expiration. So returns are a very, very important part of the customer experience as well, because as you know, if someone has a bad experience with you, that gets amplified. So a return is no different, right? If the customer returned a product because they ordered the wrong thing and then you ship them a new product, they want that return to be processed quickly. They don't want to be waiting, wondering when it's going to be processed, when's my credit card going to be refunded, because the longer you wait, typically, at about day 3 after it's been returned, they will call the client's company. That's an elevated customer service cost. They might call their bank. They might issue a chargeback. All the things that clients don't want as part of that experience and are very costly to brands can be eliminated by just continuing to, process those returns in a timely manner, which is for us the same day. So all of this area here, this is, we call this the on-demand manufacturing area. So this is essentially just-in-time inventory, okay? And this was really the genesis of how we put QuickBox together. So when we all got together, the 5 owners of QuickBox, we were all in the midst of ending our last venture and thinking about our next new venture. And the idea was fulfillment, and it was to focus on direct-to-consumer brands in the health and wellness space. But the idea that we had that we knew would differentiate us was, how do we come up with a vertically integrated supply chain system that can benefit our clients, right? And coming from being a brand, there's one thing that can always trip you up, and that's your inventory, right? You have too much inventory, you have obsolete inventory, you get an ingredient change in GNC, and all of a sudden you have all this inventory, you have no outlet for it, right? Or you built up all this inventory because you thought you were going to have a hot seller, right? And then all of a sudden sales are dismal, and then what do you do? What do you do with all that inventory, right? And when all that inventory is on your balance sheet and all that inventory comes due, and you have all your cash flow wrapped up in inventory, and you have a bad season or a bad product, or a product launch doesn't go so well, that inventory position in your company can flip you upside down overnight, right? I mean, I've seen more companies destroyed by excess inventory than anything else. So what we decided, what we wanted to do, was design a just-in-time inventory system that basically says, okay, client, you want to sell a cognitive supplement, right? So we have a line of nutritional supplements that are stock products that can be white labeled. We have a line of cosmetic products. We have a line of pet supplement products, and we have a line of CBD products. But let's say, for example, you want to create a brain supplement, right? Well, you might be a small business, or you might be a larger business for that matter. You might not want to invest in that inventory yet because you're not sure of the category. You're not sure of your ability to sell it, right? And so we have inventory available of that private label product. You design your label, you submit that artwork to us, and then every week we're basically forecasting for you your data that suggests what we think you're going to sell the following week. And you approve that or you modify it. We label that product on a Friday, we check it into your account, and then you sell that inventory the following week. And we wash, rinse, and repeat that cycle every week. And the more data you have, the smarter we get at forecasting what your sales are going to be. The minimum order quantity is 500, so the investment isn't large. But let's say you're a large brand and you want to do a cognitive product and you want to test it, right? Well, you buy 500 products and you test it. And if it goes well, then you scale it up. If it doesn't go well, you bought 500 products. You're not going to break the bank on that one. So it's really a smart inventory management system and supply chain management system. I originally knew there was a desire for it and a need for it, but I didn't realize how much the need was. This part of our business has grown exponentially because normally it's a matter of cash flow and balance sheet. You don't want to hold all that inventory, or you're just really not good at supply chain management and you don't want to do that, right? So you let us do it. So all you have to do is show up for a meeting once a week, and we tell you what we think you're going to need next week in inventory, and you just say yes or no or modify, and that inventory is sitting in your account, ready for you to sell, ready for us to ship, and then we repeat that whole process the following week, and it's basically a just-in-time inventory system for any type of product that you could want within our portfolio. So basically these are finished goods. The inventory starts on the other end and it's unlabeled, right? And that would be inventory that we own, right? As soon as it runs through the labeling machines and gets reboxed and turns into a finished good, and that inventory checks into a client's account, then the client takes ownership of the product. And we handle all of the compliance aspects as well. So we are managing all the, we call it qual assurance. We're managing all the C of A's. We're managing all the AQL testing. We're managing all of the third-party testing. So every single batch that comes in here is third-party tested, independent lab, to ensure that what label you're going to put on the product is what's in the bottle and what you're providing the consumer.
How do you guys decide which products you're going to make? I mean, is there input from various areas?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, because we have a process for determining which SKUs we're going to bring to market. But keep in mind, we're not ever going to create the demand for anything, right? We're just supplying the demand that's already in the market. But we're looking for new trends as well, right? So about a year and a half ago, I started seeing that pet supplements were starting to become a little more popular and starting to get on the radar of consumers, and were becoming more socially acceptable. And I became very bullish on the category as a whole in terms of pet supplements. And so we went and found a way to make some really unique soft chews pet supplements that are like a dog treat. So like a joint health, typical ingredients you'd find in human supplements, glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, but in dosage for the size and body weight of a dog, in different sized dogs. Put them in a soft chew, created some really unique flavoring components to them to make them really tasty. We made the joint health chews shaped like a bone, the heart health like a heart, multivitamin like a disc, a calming one with CBD for relaxing and anxiety, and a probiotic. And so we studied the category and we studied the vertical, and we determined what were the most popular products that we thought would generate the highest sales volume. And because this was a new venture, we went out to some of our clients and we just said, hey, we noticed you're really good at marketing these types of products, but you're not in this category. Why don't you look at this category? Here's some data we have on this category. Here's some products we're thinking about engineering, and let them give us feedback. Now, if every client came back and said, no thanks, this pet supplement thing's a joke, we probably wouldn't have launched them, right? Because I'm not trying to generate demand. But right away, we had 2 clients that just said, oh my God, we've been actually thinking about pet supplements, but we didn't know anything about it. Love your data, love the product concepts. How soon can we get them? So there's a process to how we generate the products, but again, we're not trying to create a demand, we're just feeding and supplying that demand. So same thing in cosmetics, same thing in CBD, and then in the nutritional supplements, we cover most of the main categories in the VMS. And everything is following GMP guidelines in terms of, locking up the labels in the cages for security purposes, and all of the steps involved in making sure that we're putting the right label on the right product. Again, follow all the GMP compliance. So we have a FDA registration for food storage, and then we've been audited for GMP compliance because we're not doing the actual manufacturing on the premise, and we're not bottling any ingestibles, but we still have a component of GMP that we're certainly responsible for.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.